He's the swing vote. He decides to step down because he wants to be replaced by a Republican. Sort of the way it used to be. Thank you, Justice Kennedy. So it's time to pick again. Trump, unlike anybody I've ever known, I could use that sentence a bunch. Actually, put a list together. If you'll let me president, here's who I'm going to pick. He didn't surprise anybody. All these people were actually on the list. And when Chuck Schumer tells me that this person's out of the mainstream of conservatism, I say, Chuck, you're about the last person I would ask as to what mainstream conservatism looks like. So, big pick, replacing Kennedy. I gave him 3 names. The president. Kavanaugh was on top of the list. I'm not going to tell you who the other 2 were. He picks Kavanaugh. I say, hallelujah. Because it could have been Judge Judy. You never know. Yeah, that's right. You never know. I said, ooh, we got a real judge. Kavanaugh is probably the greatest mind of his generation. I've known him for 20 years. He comes from the Bush world. Trump, Bush, McCain, Romney were all kind of, just divided up here until Kavanaugh. After Kavanaugh, I've never seen the Republican Party more united than I do right now. Right now. And what happened? Thank you. Spartacus and all that crap. You reminded us what we have in common. Whether you're a Bush guy, a Trump gal, or libertarian or vegetarian Republican, you believe in conservative judges. And what it reminded us of, it's not just about Trump, it's about us. This is the Bush guy. They're just trying to destroy us and nullify the election. So if I had 8 years to live, it'd be during the Obama years because it seemed forever. But where I could, I worked with him because he won. I finished in the top 17 running for president. Which was pretty good for a football team. And I met Trump after he got elected. He says, I don't have your phone number. And I said, there's a reason for that. And, but now he's got my phone number, and all's good. So they don't want to accept that he won. There's some people in the party still don't want to accept he won. I accept he won. I want to help him. The best way I can help him is be myself, find ways to help him do good things, and generally speaking, I think he's doing a hell of a job. So when he picked Kavanaugh, I thought outstanding choice. He worked for Kennedy, and it was bumpy. Bumpy? No, at first. I'm talking. It started bumpy. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, everybody running for president, go over here and this is your 30 seconds to shine. I'm sitting there just not listening to what anybody's saying, really. I know this guy's the most qualified guy of his generation. He's beyond reproach. And the hearing's over. Then, like the last thing said, oh, by the way, I got this letter. I said, what letter? What are you talking about? Well, there's this anonymous letter. Okay, why are we talking about it here? When did you get it? Why are we knowing about it now? This is on a Thursday. By the weekend, it's front page news. They withheld the letter, and they dropped it at the last minute to do what they did. As you can tell, I got pissed. Yeah. Now let me tell you why. I voted for Sotomayor and Kagan because I wouldn't have picked them, but I thought they were qualified. Thurman voted for Ginsburg. Hollings voted for Scalia. It used to be that way. Then it started. That weekend, all the Dr. Ford stuff. Then Sunday, the Avenatti stuff. Then by Monday, it was complete, all-out, total character assassination. The decision was made to hear from Dr. Ford. In the Me Too movement, women need to be heard. I've been a prosecutor. A lot of women are assaulted and take it to their grave, and every now and then somebody makes stuff up. You got to have a process. The accusation cannot be self-proving. So what I witnessed over the next week or so was something I have never seen in politics. The absolute wholesale effort by the Democratic Party with allies in the media to destroy somebody. To keep the seat open and fill it in 2020. And what amazes me, they're dumb enough to actually say that's what they were trying to do. Here's the double standard. If it had been a Democratic male nominee, and some lady from South Carolina came to me months before claiming abuse, and I withheld it from the committee, they would destroy me. If I recommended to her a conservative lawyer who never told her the Democrats would come to South Carolina so she didn't have to go to Washington, they would destroy me. If Ted Cruz had said, all we're trying to do is hold the seat open till a Republican can fill it, they would go nuts. If somebody else, like John Cornyn, said, oh, by the way, Judge, you're not presumed innocent because I disagree with your philosophy. The presumption of innocence doesn't apply to you, even though you've been accused of a felony. They would kill us all. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Not one word. Not one article. Not one question from the senator from Hawaii. What did you mean you're trying to hold the seat open? Nobody got challenged but trying to drop the presumption of innocence for him and nobody else in America. So when my time came, let me set this up. When my time came, we decided to have Miss Mitchell question Dr. Ford. I think something happened to her, but I don't believe Kavanaugh had anything to do with it. Okay? If you had to prove yourself innocent, he did, in my view. I mean, you talk about squared away. He had a calendar. I can't even remember where I was at yesterday. But the bottom line, it got to be silly. It got to be mean. I'm talking about a guy's high school annual here. How do you defend yourself against an accusation you don't know where it was, when it was, and you never met the person? And everybody supposedly there says, I don't know what she's talking about. But that still meant nothing to them. Oh, she's just telling the truth because you want to believe her. Didn't want to believe any of the Clinton people, but you want to believe her. Right? So, Miss Mitchell from Arizona walked Dr. Ford through her testimony respectfully and pointed out inconsistencies. Then she was questioning Kavanaugh just to show she's fair-minded. And their questions had zero to do with trying to find out what happened at a party. Nobody knows where it was at and when it was. It was about him. And I remember Leahy asking him, did you believe Anita Hill? You can tell where this thing's going. So we took a break, and I told Miss Mitchell, I got this. It ain't no more about finding the truth. And I asked Grassley, let me go next. Never said good. So I'd written out some things, and I was really going to lean in to what they were doing to Kavanaugh. But it changed. Durbin was before me. And what got me so upset was he kept going at Kavanaugh. If you're really innocent and you got nothing to hide, why don't you ask the White House to continue the investigation if you're truly innocent? In other words, why don't you agree to have your family's life continue to be ruined if you got nothing to hide? Your daughters and your wife have been absolutely turned upside down, their world, and putting the burden on him to continue this charade was the breaking point. So I took my notes and just threw them up against the desk. And the rest is history. And the reason I did that is because what was happening in front of me was the beginning of the end of anybody ever wanting to be a judge. If they had won and beat Brett Kavanaugh, who would want to follow him, right? If we had normalized this, ambush, innuendo, out-and-out lies being enough to take you down, if you have to prove you didn't do something, then everything this country's built on slowly ebbs away. So it didn't work. They failed. Susan Collins is my new hero. So, she gave an analysis of the case that will go down in history. She's in a tough state. South Carolina, we like Brett Kavanaugh. But in Maine, this was tough for her. She rose to the occasion. They turned their whole party over to the mob. I couldn't walk to my office without being yelled at, screamed at, and spit on. And it pissed us all off. Because if we give in to that, then we're dead, right? So Susan went through each and every aspect of the case and laid it out. Who goes to 10 parties where women are being drugged and raped? Isn't one enough? None of this made any sense. People are now taking it back. Chuck Grassley did a good job, and he's referring these accusers to the FBI. But Susan made a speech that I think will go down in history. My contribution was to say enough. I think what I did was spoke for you.
Probably Trump.
He can wait. That's my sister. So I think the reason people have been nice all over the country is that finally somebody said something I was thinking. And after I unloaded, because I did vote for them, it got to be easier to defend Brett. And I can tell you, their efforts to destroy Brett Kavanaugh cost them at least 3 to 4 Senate seats.
Do you think they realize it?
No. She asked, do they realize it? I don't think so. Everybody that voted against Kavanaugh in a contested race lost except one. He voted for her. Everybody, the only one we didn't get was Montana.
Yes.
But every one of them, Indiana, Missouri, North Dakota, and Florida, they all lost. You'll never convince me that this didn't matter. So, now, where do we go from here? We start all over in 2019. We lost the House. You typically do that. Nothing unusual. But we got to look at why we lost. We're losing women. I think part of it's health care. We did a good job of telling people why Obamacare is bad, but they've labeled us as not having a plan, and we need one. My idea is to take the Obamacare money and block grant it to the governors and let them do a better job with it than some bureaucrat in Washington. That's a plan. And cover sick people. You got to cover sick people. And president's got to watch his words. Policy good, words sometimes not so much. The problem is he's got to fight back because he's being accused of everything all the time. So he's in a bad spot. So he's going to be himself, whether I tell him to or not. And we need to help him where we can. And we need to regroup. And in 2019, we'll have a divided House. A Democratic House and a Republican Senate. We don't need any Democratic House members to confirm judges. We're going to do that. We're going to challenge them to help us fix a broken immigration system. There's some things we can do on infrastructure. The world's a dangerous place. Hope we can start putting our enemies on notice and being stronger on the world stage. 2020 will be here before you know it. After Kavanaugh, Republicans understand something a little bit different. That it is not about Trump. It is about us. They want power way too much. If they spend all their time trying to impeach Trump or destroy his presidency, it will catch up with them. Here's their problem. They don't know who they are. Are they a moderate Democrat? Do they have a snowball's chance in hell of surviving in that party? This lady from New York, Ms. Cortez, whatever her name is, she has a view different than most of us. Here's my prediction. Trump wins. Trump wins because they're going to nominate somebody that appeals to the mob. And here's the challenge for us. We have got to rise to the occasion. We're the only adults left in the room, folks. I'd like to have a Democratic Party I can work with. It'd be good for the country. But our friends on the other side are cracking up. We've got to come together. Not only to help President Trump, but help the country. And find people on the other side that you can work with and try to find common ground. We're in a struggle for the future of the country. If they get the power they want, you'll be a single-payer healthcare system before you know it. If they get the power they want, the judiciary will be politics in another form. There is a lot at stake over the next couple of years. If I get to be chairman of this committee, I promise you that it will be run firmly, fairly, and a lot of this BS is going to stop. And we're going to find out how you could get a warrant on an American citizen based on a document paid for by a political party, a document prepared by an agent of a foreign government, and how that could go all the way to the legal system and justify a warrant, and none of it is true. The dossier. If you think I've forgotten about that, you're wrong. So thanks for coming out. Appreciate all the nice things you've said and all the messages passed. Appreciate you caring about the party. South Carolina, we're in pretty good shape. Horry County went for Trump stronger than any county in the 46 counties. Here's what I learned. You can be in a safe seat and hurt your own party. Spartacus and all these people can't be beat in their home state, but they can act in a way to beat Democrats in other states. Republicans are going to be fine in South Carolina, but we got to act in a way to make sure our colleagues in other states don't get beat because of us. Conservatism is an asset. You just got to have a smile on your face about it.
We need more people to stand up like you did
There's a time to fight. We have passion, we have principles, and they're not inconsistent with wanting to work together. But if you're going to get run over, you're not worth a damn to anybody. Right down the road, we lost a seat. Warning, 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 warning. Our party needs to not take for granted the good fortune we've experienced over the last 30 years. My number one goal for home is to get the 1st Congressional District back. God bless you all. Okay, let me take 2 questions. How about that?
You know, you talk about.
I'll take 3 questions.
You talked about the media in your presentation there, Google and Twitter and
All that
Facebook
stuff,
and-
yeah.
But also, we need to look at AT&T and some of these other conglomerates. AT&T was broken up years ago. Now they own 10, 15 different stations and becoming a conglomerate again. They're controlling the cable news networks, the cable. They're controlling the internet.
Well, that was Trump's concern about the Time Warner merger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now they're controlling everything you guys do now. So now we have a liberal media controlling almost everything you see or hear on TV, on the internet. We need to break them up again like we did years ago, just like we did Standard Oil. We did them earlier. And I saw this coming because the grandmother of my first wife, he was an executive with AT&T. She got 8 stocks when they broke them up. And then they bought all those companies.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Well, that was my point of bringing the whole social media stuff up. Consolidation of power in any industry is scary.
Senator,
Yes, sir.
Senator, I have written a book. I am a woman and I have spoken. And your picture is in my book. It's called
Good luck with selling that book. I'll be glad to. I'll be right over.
I'm not selling it.
I will. Thank
I
you.
just brought you one to give to you, double standards, and you just spoke about double standards.
Thank you.
Read the book, it's wonderful, it'll let you
Get
know
her
what we
book.
have to go through.
Yes, sir.
Senator Grant, thank you for answering the questions. This is probably going to be my last opportunity for the rest of my life, so I'm going to ask it. In the 14th Amendment to the Constitution,
Right.
we know what it's all about. There's
Right.
5 articles.
Right.
And based following up on what you said
Jurisdiction
about
thereof.
your attempt to change the birthright,
Right.
in the Section 5 of that amendment, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of the article. Would that mean that the Congress has the right to enforce the intent or the actual words? Because the words are difficult for anybody to change that Article 1. But if it's the intent of what they meant back in 1868, then you've got a good chance.
Well, look, you got a second here, and I got to go. But this is important. Okay. So there's a couple of cases on point. One's an 1890 case involving a Chinese person. There was no illegal immigration in 1890. We were taking anybody we could get. The question is, does the 14th Amendment apply if the parents are in illegal status? That has never been adjudicated, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What does that phrase mean in terms of somebody being here illegally? I don't know what the courts will do, but I know they need to speak. So there's 3 ways to do this. An executive order, which the president has done, which will be challenged, and it will go up to the federal court system. A statute clarifying that the intent of the 14th Amendment was not to confer citizenship on illegal immigrant births. Third way is the constitutional amendment, changing the 14th Amendment. Those are 3 lanes. I'm going to deal with the second lane. I'm going to have a hearing, try to write a statute that would enact what you say is the intent. It will get challenged, and I don't know what the answer would be, but I know this: doing nothing is not the answer. I have been really beat up trying to fix immigration, but this has never made sense to me that you would have a law written this way. In 1868, they never envisioned how this would affect 2018, right? We are now enticing people to come to the country. Have you heard of birth tourism?
Yes. Yeah.
This offends me even more. On the West Coast and on the East Coast, you have resorts that cater to rich people from the Mideast and from China. They come here as tourists. They wait till the child's about to be born. They'll get a 60, 90-day tourist visa. Part of the resort regime fee, they've got a maternity ward. And they're literally taking advantage of birthright citizenship by using a tourist visa to have the child in America as an escape valve in case China or the Mideast blows up. That cheapens citizenship. I want to address that also. What I think is that unless you're a green card holder, which means you've waited your time and you finally got a green card and you're on a pathway to citizenship, you shouldn't benefit from the birth in America to confer automatic citizenship. Let me tell you another example. To run for president, you've got to be what? 35, what else? Natural born. Now this is odd. John McCain was born in the Panama Canal and Ted Cruz was born in Canada. No one's ever suggested that they're disqualified from running for president because it's been assumed that natural born is in relationship to your parents, not the location of your birth. So why don't we apply that same concept here? That when it comes to conferring citizenship, it's a relationship to the parent connected to the country. Yes, if you had the same concept applied to the 14th Amendment, you would get a completely different outcome.
Senator, thank you for being here. You know, we're always supportive of you.
This man works hard. He's at the level of government where you don't get much reward.
My time's coming to an end, but I want to thank you for being here, and I want to make sure that I get you on record in front of everybody. You talked about getting accused of things that you really didn't do. I get accused of that all the time, but that's okay. We just passed in Horry County Council economic development for I-73. We put our money where our mouth is, $300 million towards I-73. We just, this past week, we approved a contract with SCDOT so we can start moving forward with a plan to move forward with I-73. I just want, from yours and my conversations over the years, just recently during the storms, having the privilege to sit at the table with you, President Trump, Senator Scott, Congressman Rice, everybody at that table was on top of and says that they are supportive of I-73, and that as we get a transportation bill, hopefully that will happen in this next year, that one of the top funding priorities will be I-73. And I just want all these people to hear that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. You've been a get the yes kind of guy because you live and work here. So I-73, we need it for a couple reasons. Number one, for safety. The good news is a lot of people want to come here, right? Bad news, it's hard to get here. If you ever need to leave, it's hard to leave. So the local community has put millions of dollars to help make I-73 a reality. You're not asking for charity from the federal government. We've done the right-of-ways. Tom Rice has been a rock star on this. Tom Rice does you so... He knows more about disaster relief than the people working disaster relief. He has made it... We'll name that road the Tom Rice Road if it ever happens. But the best way to get the $1 billion we need is through an infrastructure bill. I-73, in theory, would connect to Michigan, create another artery, and you're a clogged artery here. And we got a new airport. That's good. You know, it's got $40-something million for the airport. My view of being a senator is that we got to control our spending, but if you're going to spend money, we need our fair share. So here's what Strom Thurmond said. If they were going to make a green cheese factory on the moon, I'd vote against it, but we'd build it in South Carolina if it passed.
How many truly going to work with the president?
The good question. I will say, as a team, we passed the biggest tax cut since Reagan without a single Democratic vote. We've taken a lot of the Obama era regulations and repealed them without a single Democratic vote.
Yes.
We got Brett Kavanaugh and Gorsuch through, 3 votes one time and 1 the second. I would say that we've done a pretty damn good job. 51 is tough, folks. 53 is like night and day. What we've been able to do is pretty impressive in the sense that we've gotten a lot done with almost no help from the other side. We fell short on health care, but let's take another shot at it. 53 is going to make it a lot easier to get things done in the Senate, and we'll see what the House does. If the House just takes their mandate to stop everything Trump, I think it will be played out in 2020, and the person on the Democratic side is going to get hurt by Nancy Pelosi.
Voter fraud in this country.
Voter fraud. Okay, so let me tell you about voter fraud. Anybody from Florida? Good that you moved. I don't mind dead people voting, but they need to vote on Tuesday. 93,000 votes were found after the election. So here's what to expect, and I got to go here. Here's what to expect. We're going to be racist, and we're going to hate women. Now that's coming. They're going to take the Civil Rights Act, which did empower African Americans and cleaned up Jim Crow, but we're in 2018. African American participation in North Carolina and Georgia have gone through the roof, and these 2 states have just tried to make sure that the integrity of the ballot box is preserved. You need an ID to do almost anything in America. It's not too much to ask that you have some proof that you are who you are. So this is a constant problem. And who runs these elections matter, do you agree?
Big time.
Okay, look at Palm Beach and Broward County. This is a test run for 2020. On the night of the election, we'd lost 26 seats in the House. As of yesterday, it's 40. If you're a Republican, you got to win by a lot to win by a little. Rick Scott had a 60,000 vote majority and wound up winning by 10. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm telling you this, we need to make the integrity of the ballot box stronger. So Nancy Pelosi said 4 things she wanted to do. One was restore democracy, which means investigate Trump. The other thing was to make sure voter suppression doesn't exist, which means accuse us of being racist. So what she's going to try to do is roll back all these state-level initiatives that have tried to preserve the integrity of the ballot box. This judge went down in North Carolina. He represented the Republican Party in their effort to make sure that illegal immigrants and dead people can't vote. They're trying to purge the rolls of people who are not on the rolls. All I can say is if you're a Republican, get ready for 2019, because they're going to accuse us of being racist because we won't agree with laws that open up the floodgates to voter fraud, and they're going to accuse us of hating women just because that's what they're going to do. And it won't work. Let me tell you what. African American families are doing better under Trump than they've done under Obama. The income among African American and Hispanic families has gone up faster than any time in recorded history. Single women are doing better today than they've ever done. We've got an image problem and a communication problem. The way you beat that is you come up with good policies and you talk about it. The one criticism of President Trump, he's done a lot of good things and he won't talk about it. He talks about everything but what we actually did. In 2020, we need to explain to people that all these initiatives that you're talking about are designed to make sure your vote counts and not stolen. And from a young woman's point of view, if you care about economic security for you and your family, we're your best bet. If you care about safety, where's the chief? Is he still here? Bottom line is cops have never had a better friend. And most women care about security. You know, they're the heart and soul of the family. And I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish for minority families. And you begin to see larger and larger numbers of minorities saying, I like Trump. Prison reform. Sentencing reform. I've been a lawyer all my adult life. I've been a prosecutor, defense attorney, and a judge. Under 3 strikes, you're out, the Bill Clinton law. There are thousands of African American male and Hispanic male mostly serving 30 and 40 years in jail because of 3 nonviolent offenses that all add up. The laws are very bureaucratic. Wouldn't it be ironic if it was Donald Trump that reformed a broken criminal justice system? We need more beds for bad people. We need to get the nonviolent offender out of jail, paying taxes, you're not paying for them. We need a system where they earn their way out. We're this close to passing the biggest criminal justice reform in the history of the country. Good time credit. You get good time credit if you don't blow the jail up. There is no system to get you to focus on skills that will keep you from going back to jail. The recidivism rate is about 50%. Governors like Mike Pence and Rick Scott, Georgia and Kentucky, have done prison reform in a fashion that if you'll do certain things to improve your educational level, go to a technical school available to prisoners, you can get out of jail early and you'll have a skill set so you don't go back. The recidivism rate in Florida went from like 38 to 11. We need to look at systems and make sure they're producing the results. Violent offenders stay in jail, serve out your full time, and I hope you get a lot of time. To the drug offenders and people who do stupid things as young people, you'll get a second chance, but you got to earn that second chance. And we need to focus on a skill set that makes it less likely that you'll go back to jail. If we could pull this off under Donald Trump, it will change our party's image. It will get people out of jail, which costs $36,000 a year to keep them in jail, and they'll be paying taxes. And we need workers. So I'm excited about the next 2 years. I've talked way too long, but there's so much to talk about. You know what I'm excited about? Is that we've got a lot of things to talk about because we're doing a lot of things. We haven't spent the last 2 years telling the country why the Democrats suck. We spent the last 2 years talking about a stronger, bolder America. God bless you all.
Hey everybody, I want everybody who decided to run for office, and I was also the state director for South Carolina. We have something special that we want to do today. We have an organization called Red Hats for Trump, and this is Don. He started this. He's helped us all over the state, hand out hats everywhere. It's a support base for our president. What we want to do today, we want to present Senator Graham with one of the signed hats from Don Brown, Red Hats for Trump. And just to let everybody know, we call Cleo the matriarch of politics in South Carolina. So not only is she somebody that we need to say thank you every day about politics, but Miss Cleo, we want to make sure that you also get a hat, Red Hats for Trump, and this is Don Brown. And we greatly appreciate all the work that you're doing, Miss Cleo. Thank you. And God bless America and Lindsey Graham for helping us.
Thank you. I got a hat.